spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome again to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football, the only show that gives you everything you need to know every day except Thursday in 30 minutes or less around the National Football League. The reason I say every day except Thursday is because for the last now 3 weeks, the Pro Football Demon and I have been doing a full-hour episode where we do live viewer questions. The first 2 weeks have gone great. We have had questions fill up the entire hour, and we will keep doing this every Thursday. I'm volunteering Rich. I'm just saying we're going to do this every Thursday as long as you guys still have questions to ask. Rich, Pro Football Demon, your Jets win again. But at what cost? Elijah Vera Tucker, Breece Hall. Before we get started, I want to get your thoughts on your state of mind right now for the New York Jets.
I just love that Joe Douglas is being proactive. He brought in James Robinson, who I love. He's about 70% of what Breece Hall is, maybe 65%. So I don't know that they'll. I mean, it's a big loss, especially Elijah Vera Tucker. That's going to be a massive loss. I do think they're going to trade for an offensive lineman. I heard Laramie Tunsil's name thrown around. I'd give up a first rounder for him. So I'm still excuse me. I'm still optimistic. Want to see more from the quarterback. He has. I'm not going to defend him, but he has gone up against some tough defenses. This was his 17th game played, so it's really like one full season for him. He didn't play in the preseason, so jury's still out on him. But I'm a little optimistic. I can't believe they went in your rankings from 8th to 17th this week after winning.
There is a reason for that.
So,
did you see the tweet? Did you see the show? Did you see any of that? So
I saw the show.
Okay, you saw the show. So you understand that it was not us.
I
We had a special guest on. But of course, we put the caveat on Twitter. For those that don't know, guys, we do a live power rankings draft. I have Jimmy Ray from the NFL Stats Twitter account every single Wednesday, where we just take turns from 32 to 1 drafting the team. Well, we switched up. We brought on a special guest, Tyler Dunn from Go Long, who also has a book out called The Blood and Guts, How Tight Ends Save Football. It's an amazing book.
That book sounds fascinating, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome book. I've already started reading it. Tyler's an amazing writer, but he was part of our draft, and he has a completely different way of ranking these teams than us, and he does not believe in the Jets, so he put him down at 17, and we got a lot of crap on Twitter from all sorts of angles, which we expected. Rich, what do you say we go ahead and jump into this thing?
Let's go.
Because we've got questions queued up, and of course there's a Thursday night football game going later. 30-minute half of football with Legit Football starts now. We're going to go ahead and start the 60-minute timer and then stop it after 30. Go ahead and bring it up. There we go. We got Anthony Weiner, as always, our producer behind the scenes. He's also going to be queuing up the questions, guys. It's really hard for me to look at the chat, so I'm relying on Anthony. So if your question doesn't get asked, it's not our fault. It's 100% the Lions fan behind the scenes, Anthony
And you
Weiner.
can get him on Twitter, too.
That's right. Yeah, just look up Anthony Weiner wherever you can find him and just blast him if your question doesn't get answered. All right, regular, we've got Jade Dragon 91. Always nice to see you in the chat. Cortland Sutton, Deontay Johnson, or Isaiah McKenzie at flex, Rich?
Ooh, I'm probably going Deontay Johnson. I'm not trusting Cortland Sutton. I'm not trusting any Broncos right now. The only reason why I'm going Johnson over McKenzie is because Johnson is technically the number one in that offense, so there's probably a better chance for him to see more significant targets than McKenzie.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Part of me feels like the Broncos have to get right at some point, but we've seen so much now that we can't take that chance, right? We just can't. Deontay Johnson, we've discussed, I think his value is lower in general with Kenny Pickett at quarterback. They're playing the Dolphins. Oh, no, they just played the Dolphins. Let's bring up the schedule. Who do the Steelers play this week?
Steelers are playing. That's not the Steelers.
No, I got it. Eagles. Oh, Eagles secondary. Yeah, no. I don't want any part of that. So I actually kind of like Isaiah McKenzie going up against the Packers. Their best cornerbacks for Green Bay are on the outside. McKenzie plays almost exclusively in the slot. You got Jair Alexander on one side, the second-year player Stokes on the other side. Maybe Alexander can slow down and kind of focus on Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is really more of a deep threat. McKenzie could see a lot of work in the slot. There's no slam dunk here, but I'm actually going to lean McKenzie for this one. Maybe Aaron Rodgers wakes up and the Packers score some points and this ends up being a shootout. I don't know that that'll happen, but I don't know. I kind of lean McKenzie. You still want to go Deontay Johnson?
I'm still going to go Deontay Johnson just because I know the Eagles secondary is tough, but again, technically he is the number one guy. You could get some garbage time points. Could he sneak into the end zone? Absolutely. I just like his chances to see more significant targets better than I do McKenzie's. I think that game's going to be a bloodbath, the Buffalo game. I don't think they're going to have to pass much at all.
I picked the Bills. I picked the Packers to beat the spread.
Yeah.
If you follow me on Twitter @_legitfootball, you know I already released my picks. Our game pick show is tomorrow, so you can. I'll give more of my reasoning then. I clearly think the Bills will win, but 10.5. Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Maybe it's my previous bias, but
yeah.
Yeah, tough. But yeah, I think no matter what, we're in agreement. Don't play any Broncos. Maybe Dulcich, but not Cortland Sutton. All right, KWAA Raiders. 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex between Joe Mixon, Gus Edwards, Kareem Hunt, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins. We have to give him this answer in the next hour because at least one of those players is playing tonight.
Okay, so we're picking 5 of these guys?
2 of those players. Yeah, so 5. 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, and then a flex.
Okay, so 2 running backs, I'm going Joe Mixon and Gus Edwards. 2 wide receivers, absolutely Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown, and I'm probably flexing DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm going to completely agree just looking at this here. I think the Ravens are going to go run heavy. I picked the Ravens to win that game. When I had my picks, and you guys will see this tomorrow, or if you're following me on Twitter, the Ravens were actually favored. The Bucs are actually favored now. I guess there was so much betting action.
It's point and a half or something, right?
It's 2 points.
Wow.
It went from 1.5 Ravens to 2 points Tampa Bay, so it was a 3.5 point swing. It's crazy. People I get it. It's Brady. It's hard for us to accept that he could lose 3 in a row. I just think that this matchup and the Bucs looked so bad. I think they've hit rock bottom, and I don't see any. Apparently, there's something out there that Giselle gave Brady an ultimatum now. So it's like this is not getting any better. This Bucs offense, this Bucs team is broken. They've been gashed by the run 2 weeks in a row, and they're facing a team that would prefer to run it nearly every single down and ran it successfully with Edwards last week. So I really like the Edwards matchup. Joe Mixon, the Bengals are going to have to lean on him a little more now that we got the Jamar Chase news that he's going to be out at least, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. The Browns are very susceptible to the run, so that's just a really good matchup for Mixon. And on the other side, you're not going to sit Justin Jefferson ever. And A.J. Brown, probably not going to sit him most games either, but he's going up against the Steelers secondary that is very susceptible. And then Hopkins he's going to get 15 targets. We knew that. We predicted it. It happened. All right, let's move on to not a question, but he's always in the chat. XR says, even with trick-or-treating, he's early and he wants you to notice him. Well, guess what? As always, he's noticing you. Thanks for being on the show. JDragon91. It's all about, we do this in order, guys, as soon as you get the chat in. JDragon's early. He gets a lot of questions in. Smart guy. Chuba Hubbard or Dante Foreman? I like this question.
Yeah, I might go Chuba here. It looked like that Carolina, I don't know if it was Carolina's offense just maybe had a little juice to it or that Tampa was just that bad. But I might lean Chuba here. I think I like Chuba better than Foreman. It's hard.
As is typical, more often than not, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
I'm going Dante Foreman here. Foreman got more carries. He was the clear lead back. He had over 100 yards. Hubbard got the touchdown and 60 yards. They both played well. They both were very efficient. Chuba Hubbard dealing with a slight ankle injury. They said it's not enough to keep him out. He left the game and didn't re-enter, but they said afterwards he could have gone back in, and it wasn't a health issue. It's more just like precautionary. But there's just I'm leaning Foreman. I think he's going to get the bulk of the carries, and anytime I know a guy is going to start and be the first one to get the carries. And Foreman has shown from his time last year, and he had multiple 100-yard games last year with the Titans. First game as a starter has 100 yards. We're starting to see a little pattern here. That's why I'm leaning Foreman. All right, Matt. No other name, just Matt. I love it. Najee Harris and Allen Robinson for Brian Robinson and Keenan Allen. Who wins this trade? Oh, Keenan Allen Robinson. Now I'm confused. All right. I think you put Robinson too many times.
Too many times. Yeah.
Najee Harris and Allen Robinson for Brian Robinson and Keenan Allen. Who wins full PPR?
For me, I'm leaning the Keenan. This is more or less Najee Harris straight up for Brian Robinson and Keenan Allen. Because Allen Robinson,
he had a good game last week. I don't know if that continues. Yeah,
I don't trust it. And Van Jefferson should be coming back soon, right?
Van Jefferson might play this weekend. He's already been designated to return from IR, so there's a good chance we see him against the Niners on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not buying into Allen Robinson, so I would take the Keenan Allen, Brian Robinson side. I like when you get, for me, this is two pieces for one. I'm not sold on the Steelers offense. And Brian Robinson runs hard. I mean, guy got shot and came back. I mean, that's just phenomenal. And I'm a big Keenan Allen homer. I just love Keenan Allen. The guy is a beast in my book. So I'm always going to probably lean towards the Keenan Allen side of the deal.
I'm going to agree with you here, and it's because of Keenan Allen. Crazy to say this, there's not a big difference right now between Najee Harris and Brian Robinson. There's just not. Najee has been very ineffective. You can say it's offensive line blocking, sure, but he's been banged up. He had multiple injuries going into the season. He just hasn't been the same. Honestly, if you look at some of his advanced metrics, he wasn't even all that efficient last year. He just had a ton of volume. Yes, volume is king in fantasy football, but if there's underlying metrics, it's one of the reasons I was off on Kamara this year as well. He seemed to have taken a step back in some of the advanced metrics and is not getting – if the volume goes away and you're not being efficient – then what do you have left? But the real kicker here is Keenan Allen for a few reasons. He's going to be fully healthy because he came in but didn't play the second half. Now they have the bye this week, and then Mike Williams gets injured, so it's going to be the Keenan Allen show as far as targets. He's probably going to get 10 or more targets a game, and this Chargers defense all of a sudden is really bad. Yeah. Like they're just bad. The Seahawks, which was my upset of the week, and I correctly predicted it, had to throw that in there. Had a really good week with picks last week. But they're going to be letting up points. The Chargers are going to need to be passing to keep up with some of these teams. Keenan Allen, I definitely like that side of the trade.
Daniel Jones has more rushing yards than Najee Harris this year.
Oh, yeah, I love that stat. That simultaneously benefits Daniel Jones. Oh, by the way, we should mention, because we haven't talked about it, it looks like neither of us are going to lose our bets here. Because all of a sudden, I guess Zach Wilson, maybe there's still that possibility.
If he gets hurt, I don't think they'll pull him.
Yeah, there's not a benefit at this point. But they start at 5-2. If the offense sputters without Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker, maybe, but I think Daniel Jones is not leaving the Giants. He has played himself in. Maybe not the future starter. I think there's a good chance they still go for a quarterback next year, but maybe somebody he grooms. He has earned, at least through the first 7 weeks, a chance to stay with the Giants going forward. So kudos to Daniel Jones. Jade Dragon in the chat again. Oh, I love this. It's not a fantasy question. We got an NFL question. What is a trade in the NFL you see coming that no one else does before November 1st?
The New York Jets trade a first rounder for Laremy Tunsil. He gets another first round. I mean, this guy's been traded for what? It would be 5 first rounders altogether, and he's still in his 20s.
Yeah, all for that smoke,
insane.
That crazy, what was it, the gas mask weed thing on draft day. Apparently that means he's going to be worth multiple first round picks and multiple trades. I had not heard that. That is interesting. I like that. That is certainly something I have not heard. I don't know if I know anything that no one else knows. I'm starting, but I'll tell you a trade I am buying into, and that is Jerry Jeudy. I think especially if the Broncos lose again, trade deadline is Tuesday. So if there are talks going on, if the Broncos lose in London on Sunday morning, you're already stuck with Russell. You just are. Financially, you're stuck with Russell. That's going to really hinder you on the financial side. Judy's coming up to get off his rookie deal and is coming up for a re-signing. Do you want to pay a guy like that who has all the talent, fantastic route runner, has had problem with drops, has not been the amazing playmaker they expected to be when they drafted him in the first round? That's the kind of guy you get rid of. Another team that's willing. There's a lot of wide receiver hungry teams out there. The Packers immediately come to mind, the Ravens. So while that's not something that no one is saying. There's a few people out there that mentioned Judy. We've mentioned him in Legit Football. That's one I actually give a little credence to, and I wouldn't be surprised if Judy is traded off Denver, especially if they lose to Jacksonville on Sunday.
It'd be nice to see the Packers bring in a receiver.
They should. They should. Or maybe I've started to wonder on that front. Do they even care about satisfying Rodgers at this point? Or do they like, nope, he's going to be gone next year? Like, why?
I don't know if it would be about satisfying Rodgers or, the opportunity to bring in a young receiver with that much potential.
But they've literally never done that. That's just not their MO. They don't draft first-round wide receivers. They don't make big trades for talented wide receivers. I love the speculation. Claypool, I love that as a fit, but I've just never seen it. Like, why do we think all of a sudden Brian Gutekunst and the entire Packers organization would change how they've done things for decades?
Well, it hasn't work, so maybe
that's
you
true.
Do something that hasn't.
That's true. You've been winning. Now you're not winning. Maybe that's enough. I'm with you. I would love to see it. Yeah. Not for Rodgers' sake. I think him throwing his teammates under the bus is a crap move. Yeah. But just for the Packers, because we like to see them spicy. All right, Ivano traded Adam Thielen and James Robinson for Jamar Chase. Ugh. Good trade prior to today. 5-2 currently. Good trade.
Oh wait, he traded Adam
he
Thielen
traded
and
away
Robinson
Thielen and James Robinson
for
Jamar Chase. He's currently sitting at 5-2. Is that a good trade? He asks.
I'm holding on Jamar Chase because if you're confident, you're 5-2, you're confident you can get into the playoffs. Jamar Chase comes back around playoff time. That is an incredible piece to add to your arsenal during playoff time. That's a piece that could put you right over the top and carry you to a title. So I love that.
I agree, assuming he comes back, which it seems like he is. What I'm hearing is that it's not going to be surgery. It's more of a rest situation where they may put him on injured reserve, but you just have to miss 4 games. So you put him on injured reserve. He's out for the next 4, maybe 6 games. So we're going into week 8. So that's like week 12, week 13. That's right around the start of the fantasy playoffs. If the rest of your team is good. Adam Thielen has not been, he's a good wide receiver 2, maybe wide receiver 3 at this point. James Robinson, I'm really curious to see how he is on the Jets. That's a good landing spot for him, especially that Mike LaFleur Shanahan-style offense is usually very generous to running backs. But Jamar Chase is a league winner. If you can get him back healthy in time, and this is, once again, Ivano, we don't know what the rest of your roster looks like, but just on its face, yes, I like that trade. Anytime you can get a bona fide possible best wide receiver in the NFL, you get it as long as you don't pay too much.
And guys, whenever I talk to you on TikTok, I tell you Brian McFadden always throws these little tidbits in about the Jamar, just like he did with the Jamar Chase injury. He knows these little things that'll be helpful, and will give you a little bit more data that'll help you make decisions. So I love talking to this guy about fantasy football.
When you're absolutely obsessed to a maybe an unhealthy degree of the NFL, like I am, consuming NFL content 365 days a year, putting out an NFL newsletter daily, and doing an NFL podcast 5 days a week, I have a problem, but that problem can help all of you.
The definition of plugged in.
That's right. Use my junkiness to your advantage. Jaden Corinthius, start Cortland Sutton or Tyler Boyd this week?
There aren't many guys that many guys I'm going to say no to if you're saying, should I start this guy over Cortland Sutton? I don't trust it. I'm going to go Tyler Boyd. I know Sutton's had a handful of decent weeks, but I don't trust that Denver offense to move the ball. To get in the end zone, I'm not feeling it.
This would have been an iffy one. Probably still would have leaned Boyd, but with Jamar Chase out, it's not even a question. Tyler Boyd's value just skyrocketed. T. Higgins' value just skyrocketed. Boyd's in particular, because Boyd, his best weeks tend to be when one of the top 2, either Higgins or Chase, is out. And Chase is out for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks. So Tyler Boyd's value just shot way up. He tends to go under the radar in general. Burrow trusts him, so he's going to get targets. He's going to rely on close games. He's amazing in the slot, so he'll get games where he has 6 to 8 catches, and then he'll have games like last week where he'll catch a 70-yard touchdown. He can do it all, always under the radar. Sutton, we've talked ad nauseum about our issues with the Denver offense, so 100% go Tyler Boyd. Don't even think twice about it.
And Burrow is hitting his stride, so this is a good time.
Yes, which makes it all the worse that Chase went down. Like this Bengals offense, there's a question of who's good this year, right? Like who's actually good. Well, the Bengals were looking like one of those few, maybe like 4 teams in the NFL that we can say with a stamp of, 100% they're good, and then they lose Jamar Chase. Definitely, for an NFL fan, that's a bummer. All right, Mark Mirza, should I start Mark Andrews today? 100% yes. He has officially been ruled active. He was leaning that way anyway. But now that we know for a fact that he is playing, start him. I know that he didn't produce. I have multiple shares of Mark Andrews. I understand your pain. He had 2 targets, no catches. The only points he had was on a 3-yard rush up the middle. Yes, Mark Andrews, the tight end. They gave him like a short yardage, and good for him, he got 3 yards. But he's still, the tight end position is so thin. If there's a guy that Andrews like normally produces, he did get a red zone target, and Lamar overthrew him. So it's not like all he does is catch that 1 touchdown, and he makes it worth your while. So unless you have Travis Kelce as your other tight end, 100% start Mark Andrews. That's a yes, Mark. All right, Austin says, Andrew. By the way, I just realized I didn't let you answer that question.
No,
Everything.
It doesn't. If I had something to say, I would have jumped in.
Ditto. He just ditto from the Pro Football Demon. Austin says, Andrews, Debo, and Elliott for Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and Hawkinson. So we got Mark Andrews, tight end, Debo Samuel, wide receiver, dealing with a hamstring issue, has not practiced this week. Ezekiel Elliott, dealing with a knee issue, has not practiced this week. For Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and TJ Hawkinson.
I don't love having 2 guys in the same offense, but it is an offense that is, I mean, these guys get heavily targeted. I love that you're getting Justin Jefferson in this deal. That for that alone, I feel like I would make this move. And Amon-Ra, when he plays, he puts up points. And Hawkinson is a hit or miss tight end. Tight end is so scarce. Having a guy like Mark Andrews is phenomenal, but upgrading to a receiver like Justin Jefferson, I don't know if I can pass that up. So I'm going to take the Jefferson side.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you again. That's an issue. We got to stop agreeing. Got to be different. Here's why. Most trades, you're going to have, when there's multiple players involved, there's going to be somewhere where you downgrade and somewhere where you upgrade. Ideally, they're a massive upgrade where you upgrade and not a huge downgrade where you downgrade. This is a fairly decent downgrade just because Andrews is so good at tight ends. But Hawkinson is no slouch. He's had games where he can, earlier this year, he had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has that kind of ceiling. Nevertheless, it's a downgrade. But Justin Jefferson over Debo, huge upgrade. Assuming you have other running back depth, Amon-Ra St. Brown, when he's healthy, huge upgrade over Ezekiel Elliott. We'll call that a flex position. Amon-Ra St. Brown, when he's healthy and this Lions offense is playing well, he has top 10 potential. Top 10 wide receiver. We've seen it over a stretch at the end of last season and into this season prior to getting hurt. So you could have Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown with 2 potential top 10 wide receivers. Jefferson could be wide receiver 1. For Debo, who his value is already, they're not using him as a running back as much, and now they add Christian McCaffrey, and he's injured. Zeke's injured. Pollard is a more explosive back anyway. I'm going to agree. I really very confidently like the Jefferson side of this. If you can get Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and Hawkinson for those 3, go ahead and move forward with it. Alex S. Start Pittman, Evans, or Godwin. Michael Pittman, Mike Evans, or Chris Godwin.
Oh, this is tough because I feel like Mike Evans is going to look to bounce back after that horrible drop last week. For me, it's between Pittman and Evans. Oh, I don't know what to expect from Sam Ehlinger. Is that how you say his name? Yeah,
Ehlinger. I found out. Yeah, there is.
Okay.
I thought it was Ehlinger. I found out recently as Ehlinger.
Okay. I don't know what to expect from him. He could be exciting. He looked decent in the preseason. I would love to say Pittman, but I'm going to take, I think that the safer floor is Evans and Brady. Even though they looked bad, we've seen them look good more so than they've looked bad in the past. I'm probably going to go Evans. I'm probably going to end up regretting it, but I think I would go Evans just because of the floor.
Once again, I have to agree with you, mainly because we don't know what we're getting with Ehlinger. He's an unknown, and that's the hardest thing when making, whether it's NFL predictions for games. This Colts-Washington game was the hardest game I think I've had to pick all year. I had no idea which way to go. If Matt Ryan is starting that game, honestly, I'm picking Washington. I like how they've played lately. Taylor Heineke, this offense has more of a spark with him in. The defense has played better. The pass rush is actually really good. But Ehlinger, I don't know. What if he comes in and he's much more mobile? I read an interview today that he said himself that he's a young player with an exciting skill set. So he's got a little swagger to him.
Wow.
Guy's never started an NFL game, and he's like, I'm an exciting young player.
He's
I
great.
like that.
Just ask him.
I like that. But also, we saw him in the preseason. I know it's the preseason, but he showed really, really high-end potential. He played great in college. He was very highly recruited out of high school in Texas. There's just a lot to like about Ehlinger. But that's still an unknown. So, that's why I ended up picking the Colts. I asked myself, Rich, by the way, when I'm doing the pick for this game, I don't know if you picked yours yet. If so, I'm giving you some info. At the end of the day, it was a coin flip between picking Indianapolis and Washington. And then I'm like, you know what? Who would I want to cheer for? I want to cheer for Ehlinger to come in out of nowhere, start, and get this Colts team back on track and win his first start. So that's why I picked the Colts. But on the fantasy realm, Alex asked for your question. I don't know what I'm getting. And for that reason alone, I don't love the Evans pick, but of these three, that's your safest bet. I'm going to agree with Pro Football Demon. I would go Mike Evans. The Ravens secondary is hit or miss. They have games where they shut down, and then they have games where they are susceptible. We saw the Dolphins game and how that ended. So Evans, I think, is the safest bet and potentially has the highest ceiling. We also don't know, it's not even just Ellinger's talent as a quarterback. Who's he going to throw to? Maybe he likes Alec Pierce. Yeah. Maybe he likes Paris Campbell, who had 2 touchdowns last week. Maybe he's a tight end guy and likes to. Maybe he wants to throw to Jonathan Taylor in the. We just don't know his tendencies yet. So yeah, go Evans. Damian Velasquez says, "How bad will the Jamar injury hurt Joe Burrow?"
Well, whenever you lose a receiver like Jamar Chase, it's gonna hurt. But I don't know that we're gonna see that Joe Burrow just do nothing after this. So they have a pretty deep receiving core, and Mike Thomas isn't a bad receiver in his own right, coming in to moving up to that number 3 spot. So it'll hurt a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a significant in terms of fantasy points. I don't know that it's going to kill Joe Burrow's value. It might just, he'll take a little bit of a hit.
Yeah. When you lose a top receiver like that, if it's a quarterback that hyper targets you, like DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona, when he's in, Kyler just looks his way all day long. He will get 13 to 15 targets every single game. He leaves, the offense is completely lost. Not just because Kyler hyper targets him, but because Kingsbury's not a good play caller. That's not the same case in Cincinnati. Cincinnati absolutely spreads the ball around. We've seen T. Higgins have monster games. We just talked about Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst. They can rely on the run game. Joe Mixon, the offensive line is playing much better. It's not a nothing to lose Jamar Chase in general. You lose somebody that talented, there's going to be a tick down, but the rest of this Bengals offense is so good, especially Joe Burrow. He's just so good at making his reads, making smart decisions, scrambling and finding guys open. He does it all. I don't think it hurts him at all. There's too many weapons, and he's too good of a quarterback. So if it might be from like 100 to 99, but that's it. Damian Velasquez got 2 questions in a row. Is Dalton Schultz droppable if I have George Kittle?
I think so. If I have Schultz and Kittle on my roster, I'm starting Kittle every week over Schultz. It's not even going to be a question. So,
and I agree. And I don't like rostering 2 tight ends. I say that, and I've rostered 2 tight ends, but only in the leagues
I do the same thing. Yeah,
only in the leagues I have Kyle Pitts. I don't normally, but it's like part of me just can't let go of Kyle Pitts. I'm just waiting for this miracle, this 3rd-round pick I spent on him, for him to just finally be everything we thought he would be in the offseason. So I'm rostering Pitts out of spite a little bit, but other than that, if I've got Dalton Schultz and George Kittle, no, drop Dalton Schultz. He's had injury problems recently, and there's not a huge difference in value. Kittle. It certainly has the higher ceiling. Keep Kittle, drop Schultz. Mark Mirza again says, DeAndre Swift or Dameon Pierce this week? I like this question.
This is a good question. I'm probably going to go Pierce because I don't trust DeAndre Swift to stay healthy. And Dameon Pierce has been lights out when he's played. I don't see any reason why that would change. So I trust Pierce a little bit more to finish up the game. I like Swift's skill set overall, but he's just one of those guys. I feel like anytime he gets touched, we can see him on the sideline.
Yeah, I agree. Once again with Pro Football Demon, I like Dameon Pierce, and I'll tell you a few reasons why on both sides of it. Let's start with the Swift side. Completely agree that he is the more dynamic runner by far. As far as he's a home run threat, he's explosive. He's very good out of the backfield catching the ball as well as running. That Lions offensive line is very good, but he's injury prone. This is his first game back. He was supposed to come back last week and didn't play. What that tells me is they're going to be cautious with him. They already have a very capable running back in Jamal Williams, so he's not going to get the volume by any means. Pierce is basically that Texans offense. He's getting 22 to 25 carries, a few targets as well. He just so much volume, and he is such a hard runner. I feel like every time he gets the ball, he breaks at least 1 or 2 tackles. He's just such a physical runner. I love his playing style. And to throw some more information on top of that, Brandon Cooks is not practicing this week. It's a healthy not practice. To me, that means that Cooks, there's a lot of speculation, and we know, based on reporting that has been out there, and Legit Football has reported this as well, that teams have called Houston about trading for Brandon Cooks. Which, fun fact, if he gets traded one more time, would tie him with Eric Dickerson for the most traded player in the history of the NFL, because he's been traded 3 times. Dickerson was traded 4. And on top of that, Nico Collins right now is injured and leaning towards not play. So you got your top 2 pass catchers out, and you've got a team that's already relying on Pierce. They're just going to ride Pierce. So the floor is there, the volume's higher, and the injury prone for Swift. I love Swift in general, but I'm going Dameon Pierce here. All right, Matt asked Najee Harris and Allen Robinson. Oh, this was the same one. He was determined to get this one answered. All right, let's take this one off. Alex S. Start 2. Godwin, Evans, Pittman.
Start 2. Well, this one I'm not starting Godwin and Evans. I'm going. That would
I feel like is Alex the same one that asked us one of these before, and now he's asking to pick 2. Okay, but this will probably be a pretty easy one. I think we already determined it would be Pittman and Evans, right?
Yeah, Pittman and Evans.
All right, let's move on. Yeah. More questions waiting. Ivavano with another one. Oh, nope. Wait, let's see. Oh, here we go. A little bit more context from Ivavano here. Talked about traded Thielen and Robinson for Jamar Chase. 5-2 currently, 10-team PPR, good trade. Thin at running back, though. We talked about he traded away James Robinson. Fournette, Foreman, Gibson, Michael Carter. I don't think it's that thin at running back. I mean,
I don't think that's,
I do have Kupp and Diggs already. Yeah, but Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, and Jamar Chase, he comes back into the playoffs. Boom. Good trade. Yeah, even better trade now.
And with Fournette, I mean, if you can get, if Rachaad White's on your waiver wire, pick him up. I mean, just make sure you have that backfield solidified, and you're not going to have to worry about running back.
All right, we got a new question in the chat from Solar Clips. I love that name. That's Clips with a Z, by the way, for those not watching and listening at home. Flex. Chris Olave or Dameon Pierce?
I love Chris Olave. You would know better than I do with the status of Michael Thomas and
Thomas is looking he's still not practicing, and he's probably on track to miss his 5th game in a row.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going Olave. I love Chris Olave. I know what you said about Dameon Pierce before, but I trust the Saints offense a little bit more. Who are they playing?
Why can't I find the Saints on here? New Orleans plays the Raiders.
The Raiders. Home. Yeah, I am not a big fan of the Raiders secondary. I'm going to go Chris Olave.
For all the reasons I said earlier, I am going to stick with Dameon Pierce, so I'm going to disagree with you here. I love Olave's talent, but Pierce, it's at the end of the day, there's so much volume coming Pierce's way. There just is, and he's running tough. So if you got a guy who is going to rely on Andy Dalton to get you the ball, there's always a possibility Dalton, he had multiple interceptions last week, doesn't have quite the although he threw a nice deep ball last week, I'll give him that. But in general, Dalton's not known for being a deep ball passer, so you don't have that kind of big play ceiling, whereas Dameon Pierce could end up getting 30 touches this week.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah.
All right,
it's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. Paul R 1010 start Gus Edwards or Najee Harris. This is an easy one for me.
Najee.
Let's save that for after the half. So, Paul, apologies, you're going to wait. It is halftime. We will make halftime quick, though. As always, guys, go to Legit Football. That's how we do this thing. Our main reason for doing all this content is we have a daily free NFL newsletter. That's how I know all of this stuff, because I'm just diving in. And my co-founder, Joe, who writes the newsletter, 365 days all year long, we're bringing you free the top 6 stories direct to your inbox. We tell you all you need to know. You don't have to read these long stories. Just go to legitfootball.com, enter your email address, sign in, give it a try, because you can always unsubscribe. No harm. There's injury updates every single edition. Very valuable in fantasy. Legitfootball.com. And follow me at _legitfootball. I'm doing picks on there. We live tweet. And follow the Pro Football Demon too. As always, Rich, tell everybody, if they're probably already following you because this is a lot of your TikTok audience, but tell them anyway.
Pro Football Demon, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Follow me on all those. I'm trying to grow them. If you're on TikTok right now and you're asking questions, head over to YouTube. I got the link above. Some guy in there said, "What's this guy's problem?" Because he sees me just staring at you, listening to you. So it might look weird, but dude, just read. I have text there, man. How hard is this?
People don't pay attention to detail. I mentioned we put into Jimmy from NFL Stats put up the power rankings, and he said in there, look, we added a new person. They threw off the rankings because they had their own opinions. Yeah. And then everybody was like, how do you put the Jets and blah, 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 and the Ravens? And it's just like, dude, you just had to read the 2 lines that are above the photo. But alas, that's where we're at. All right, we've got lots more questions queued up, so let's go ahead and jump back in. Anthony, go ahead and get the second half timer ready. And actually put it on the screen. There you go. All right, good job, Anthony. I meant to have this as a ticker earlier. Let's go. All right, so back to the questions. Paul R101. I know you said quickly, but let us know before. Start Gus Edwards or Najee Harris?
I'm going Najee Harris because of his PPR upside. Gus Edwards does not. He's very touchdown dependent. So I think Najee has a safer floor, and he's the goal line back. So I would prefer Najee.
I'm going to go Gus Edwards here.
Yeah.
It's not something I would normally say, but I was saying earlier how bad Najee has looked this year. And Gus Edwards surprised me with how well he looked coming off his ACL last week. 66 yards and 2 touchdowns for a Ravens team that really wants to run the ball versus a Steelers team who is going to be playing from behind. Yes, Najee has a little bit of PPR, but they're playing Jaylen Warren more and more each week. There have been games where Jaylen Warren has actually outsnapped Najee Harris. They really like that undrafted rookie. And they're going to be throwing the ball down the field. Pickett is going to use his receivers. He's going to have to, playing from behind a lot of these times. An offensive line that is not really opening holes. So I disagree. I say start Gus Edwards tonight against a Bucs defense that all of a sudden sucks against the run.
Yeah.
Historically been very good, but man, they let Chuba Hubbard and Dante Foreman run all over them last week. So I really like this matchup for Gus Edwards. Solar Clips with another question. For my flex, Dameon Pierce, Chris Olave, or Travis Etienne? Same question as earlier, but he added Etienne into the mix. Etienne now the undisputed RB1 in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think I like Etienne actually here. I love Etienne's skill set, and without James Robinson there, we were seeing him with James Robinson. We were seeing him put up some pretty decent fantasy days. The guy runs hard. I'm a big fan of Etienne, so I'm probably going to go him.
I'm going to side with the Pro Football Demon on this. They're playing a Broncos defense that is very good against the pass. You've got Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons in the secondary, and you have an excellent pass rush. If Jacksonville's smart, if Doug Peterson is smart, they're going to run the ball in London against Denver because that's where you attack this Broncos defense. Etienne going to get all the touches now. So yes, I'm going to change if it's just Olave and Pierce, I'm leaning Pierce. I like the Travis Etienne. I want to see what he does with a backfield to himself. All right, another new person in the chat, Civil War 20, Michael Thomas or Rondale Moore. I mean, we kind of answered that already with Thomas is looking like he's going to be out. But let's answer if he's in. If he's in this week, just for fun, which of these two do you like?
If Michael Thomas is in, I'm going to go Michael Thomas. But if not, then you have to go Rondale Moore.
I mean, we talked. Yeah, we talked. Yeah, right. It was a hypothetical. All right, if they're both in, between these two, Michael Thomas is more talented. He's going to get more targets in general, especially with Dalton at quarterback. I just think that he's a great receiver for Dalton's skill set. Whereas Rondale Moore, he's a little bit more hype than anything else. Like he's potential, but we talked earlier about Kyler's just going to hyper target DeAndre Hopkins. Whereas Rondale Moore, you kind of have to rely. You talk about touchdown dependency. You kind of have to rely on him to break something big. He plays in the slot. A lot of the stuff he does is short screen passes and end arounds like jet sweeps. It's just not a lot of downfield stuff. Whereas Michael Thomas can do both. So, assuming he plays, I would go Michael Thomas from those. Another new one in the chat, Mr. Josh. Do I start Brady tonight or stick with Dak? This is a juicy question.
Yeah, I think I am gonna fade Brady until I see him wake up and see if he's. I mean, is he washed now? I mean, have we seen the last of Tom Brady? I don't know. If he wasn't 45, I would probably say stick with Brady. But we're waiting for him to fall off a cliff at some point. Could this be it? I don't know. But I'm gonna go with Dak for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. There comes a point when you can't try to predict what's going to happen, and you have to go based on what has been happening. Yes, we all think just based on 2 decades of experience that Brady's going to bounce back and do what Brady does. But that's not what we've been seeing. He has looked awful. It's not just the injuries because he's gotten his receivers back. It's not just that the defense isn't playing well. He's missing passes. He's all of a sudden not playing accurate. He's yelling at his offensive linemen. There's something that is not there that has been there in the past, that competitive edge, problems at home, whatever you want to call it. I am not on Brady. In fact, I'm off the entire Bucs offense until they show me otherwise. We mentioned Evans earlier. That was only because Ellinger, the uncertainty there. But yeah, I don't like this Bucs offense at all, and that starts with Brady. I'm going to stick with Dak Prescott there. Straightforward question. Red Fire War. A lot of new people in the chat asking questions. Love to see you guys. Red Fire War says, should I start Gus Edwards? I already mentioned why I like Edwards as who he's playing this week and the matchup he has, but Red Fire War, if you want to give us any additional context, start him over who? Who else do you have? If you have, Breece Hall and he's out for the start Gus Edwards. If you have other players, give us a little more. Could you have Kenyon Drake? Are you deciding between 2 Ravens running backs? So, Anthony, pay attention to the chat. If you see Red Fire War, give us a little more context, and there would be happy to get to that question. Gavin Noonan. Gus Edwards, Brandon Ayuk, Sanders, that's Miles Sanders, Tyler Lockett, pick 2.
Pick 2. I am probably going Gus Edwards and Tyler Lockett, I think. This is tough because I do like Ayuk and Sanders too, but you kind of sold me on Gus, so that's why I'm going with Gus Edwards. And the Seahawks offense, I can't just ignore them anymore. And I know DK had a little bit of an injury. I think he's
probably not playing this week. It looked bad. He got carted off. There was a lot of concern that it was a very serious injury. X-rays came back negative. He's actually said he wants to play, but reports are that they're going to sit him at least this week, which means Tyler Lockett, who, by the way, is wide receiver 13 in full PPR right now, now gets even more volume, and a Seahawks offense that, we can't discount it. Geno works for whatever reason in the Shane Waldron offense. I don't know if I interrupted the rest of your answer. Did you get your full answer there? Okay.
I'm gonna go with Lockett and Gus.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that too. Quick, Ayuk of the 4, definitely not, but Ayuk is 2. That 49ers offense is. There'll be weeks where Ayuk gets 3 catches for 30 yards and. He got his first multi-touchdown game 2 games ago. He's just not consistent enough for me. Miles Sanders, the Eagles been running a lot, so I kind of like between Gus and Sanders. That's what I'm thinking. I think just because I really like how Gus looked last week and because of how bad this Bucs defense has been against the run, I'm leaning Gus, but Lockett is a slam dunk there. JDragon91 coming back up. What QB do you feel is going first overall in the draft next year? I hope you have a take on this. I do not follow college football anymore. I do not have a take
on this.
Yeah, I know there's CJ Stroud is the name I'm hearing a lot out of Ohio State. Who's the guy from Alabama? Bryce
Huff.
Bryce Love?
Bryce Huff, I think it is. Is it
Love? Anyway, you guys tell us. Here's my approach. I'll tell you guys my approach while we're on this question. I am so consumed with the NFL, and I went to Florida State. I used to be just obsessed with college football. I was at FSU for a national championship in '99. That's dating me a little bit. My father went to Clemson. I grew up a Clemson fan. I grew up on college football. But I'm so consumed with the NFL, I don't have bandwidth for college right now. So what I do when it comes to scouting players is I wait until the NFL season is done, and then I start diving into, I'll watch some tape, I'll read various reports, scouting reports, listen to analysts that I trust on the topic, and just try to gather as much data and information as I can. But I don't do that during the season, so I literally have no idea.
That's exactly what I do. At the end of the season, I'm full in on the draft, but up until
how about this? I'm going to flip it over to you guys, the viewers. If you guys have opinions, Anthony, pay attention to this. If you guys have opinions on which quarterback you think goes first overall, put it in the chat. We'll have Anthony start for Rich and I, and then we'll mention it so that we can let.
Takaido says Caleb Williams or C.J. Stroud.
Caleb Williams. I haven't even heard Caleb Williams. I don't even know what he plays
he's
for.
USC, isn't he?
Is that US? Oh yeah. Wait, now I do. Now it rings a bell. Okay. All right, Takaido. Always good to see you.
Is it Takaido or Takaido? You say Takaido, I say Takaido.
Tell us, is it A or I? Tell us in the chat, Mr. Luna. Okay. All right, let's go. Teddy Chechki, Tyler Higbee, or George Kittle?
I'm gonna scratch my back as I answer this one. I know.
I don't. Is that a euphemism for something? I don't really understand what that was.
I was literally scratching my back.
Literally had to scratch your back. Okay.
We've had this question before. I went George Kittle even when he was in there helping with the blocking situation. I'm going George Kittle again. I can't justify starting George Kittle over Tyler Higbee, even though Higbee's been targeted a lot. I just can't. I can't do it.
I am going to disagree. Once again, ceiling much higher. Takedo. So have you been saying it right? I've been saying Takedo, right? Takedo.
I thought I was saying Takedo.
Oh, so you're right. I'm wrong. Okay, Takedo. I will now say Takedo going forward.
I might have been saying Takedo. I don't know. Now I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right now we are saying Takedo. Thanks for letting us know, and thanks Anthony for putting that up in the chat. Tyler Higbee or George Kittle? The volume for Higbee has been so high. He is basically wide receiver 2 in LA because you mentioned earlier Allen Robinson. Yeah, he was good last week, but he hasn't been that good. It's been the Cooper Kupp show. He's getting 15 targets a game. And Higbee's next. He's had games where he's had 8 to 10 targets. That kind of floor. And Kittle's had games where he's had 2 targets. We haven't seen the ceiling yet. He did score last week, but he just hasn't been productive consistently enough. I love the idea of Kittle. Like I said, if you're chasing ceiling, if you want to just go for the biggest possible points, it's going to be Kittle. But especially with tight end right now, I'm going floor, and that's why I'm going to say Higbee. Let's stay on the tight end question. Dylan410, Dalton Schultz or Hayden Hurst this week?
I'm probably going to go Hayden Hurst with Jamar Chase out. The Burrow targets him. He's not scared to target him. So, yeah, I'm going Hurst.
He has been pretty consistent. I've actually played Hurst twice in the last 2 weeks in DFS because he's been very cheap, and he gets a consistent amount of targets. 2 weeks ago, I think he had 8 targets. Last week, I think he had 5. And Dalton Schultz, like I said, he's been dealing with a few injuries. He is healthy. This Cowboys offense isn't great. Even with Dak back, they weren't great last week. It's the defense that's really winning them games. And the fact that you throw Jamar Chase on there. Hurst is getting targets even with Chase in there. Take Chase out of the equation. Burrow's going to be spreading the ball around. They haven't been very efficient in the run. I really like Hurst. This is a pretty easy decision for me. J Dragon 91. We should have like a tally. Who gets the most questions asked? I think J Dragon 91 is in the lead right now. Josh Reynolds or Jacoby Myers. Here's an interesting one at flex.
Well, I'm going to lean Jacoby Myers. I definitely like the Lions offense better than New England's, but Myers has been, a solid 10 points week after week. So I think you can count on that with Myers, not so much with Reynolds.
Yeah, if you're wondering, Jade, and anyone else out there, if Sauce Gardner is going to be shadowing Jacoby, I don't think Jacoby plays in the slot a lot. He's more of kind of like a over the middle of field possession guy. I don't think they really need to put Sauce Gardner on him to lock him down. They're playing the Jets this week. Josh Reynolds was very good when Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift were out. They are both back for this week, which reduces his volume there, meaning I am also leaning Jacoby Myers. He's heavily targeted, whether it's Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, which it's looking to be Mac Jones. We said earlier today that it is going to be Mac Jones. At least to start. Maybe it's for one pass and then they sit him. Yeah. Who knows what's going on in New England? But yes, I'm leaning Jacoby Myers there as well. Mike Rodriguez, Travis Etienne, or Dalvin Cook.
Ooh.
Interesting. Who do I start?
I don't think you can go wrong here. I would probably... I'd have a hard time.
Vikings playing the Cardinals, Jaguars playing the Broncos in London.
I would go Dalvin Cook because that Broncos defense is pretty formidable. So,
but not against the run.
Not against the run. I don't think you can go wrong here. I really don't.
You got to pick one.
I'm taking Dalvin Cook.
I'm going to take Etienne. Once again, I do think it's a coin flip. I don't think there's a huge advantage either side. Preseason, I would have said Cook all the way, but he just hasn't shown. They haven't used him, and he hasn't been as efficient as he has in the past. For whatever reason, in this Kevin O'Connell offense, Dalvin has not been super productive. Had it not been for that long touchdown 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins at the end of the game, he would have had a very, very poor fantasy showing. ETN has been pretty consistent, over 100 yards on not that many touches last week. Now he gets the whole backfield to himself. I'm enticed. So that's another thing. When all things are even, who do I want to cheer for? Who do I want to watch? I'm excited to see what ETN does with the backfield to himself against the Broncos defense that is very good, but the one place they're susceptible is against the run. So Doug Peterson's smart. They'll use ETN a lot. So yeah, I'm going to lean ETN on.
Do you think they're going to use Jermichael Hasty a lot?
A lot? No. I think he'll be a spell. I think there's a reason they were happy to trade James Robinson, who is shown Robinson 2 years ago was running back 7, in his rookie season. This is a running back who is shown he could be a top tier running back. You don't trade him away unless you want to really use this amazing player that you've got waiting in the wings, Travis Etienne. Waiting in the wings, he's already gotten 100 yards even as the RB2 here. So yes, I don't think they'll spell him, but I think this is the Etienne show. I think they're ready to unleash him here. Charlie Harris, what to do with Zeke? Need wide receiver badly with Williams, so I guess that's Mike Williams, out for weeks. What to do with Zeke?
I'm not sure what you can get for him in a trade. That's the issue. If you're looking at the waiver wire for a receiver, I've said it before, Mike Thomas with Cincinnati might be a good option. I don't know what guys are available on your waiver wire, but that's somebody who I've been recommending because he's one of the guys I've been able to pick up.
Here's a little bit more context. Charlie says he has DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson, and Eno Benjamin in his running back room already.
Okay. So, yeah, again, then if you want to try to shop Zeke around, maybe to the Tony Pollard owner, see if you can snag a receiver off him.
There's usually at least one Cowboys fan in every fantasy league.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
find the Cowboys fan. They will ride Zeke until he's 90 years old. So
yeah, look for who has Dak and who has Tony Pollard and shop the Zeke owner around. Yeah, I would do that. I would see who has Tony Pollard, see what you can pry away from. Maybe they can give you Rashad Bateman or something like that. I don't know. Just a guy who hasn't really done much but has a lot of potential.
I actually like that name specifically. A guy like Rashad Bateman, who is active tonight, was one of the preseason darlings as far as the fantasy world, as far as having a breakout season. He has that potential. We actually saw it early on, but he has been out. He's been injured. He has not produced. So the owner for Rashad Bateman is probably pretty sour on him right now. That's actually a good name. If you can find the guy who has Bateman, just trade him Zeke straight up. Your running back room is decent enough. Zeke is super touchdown dependent. He basically is getting no targets in that offense. Pollard is more explosive. Pollard's the one that's used in the passing game. Zeke needs to score a touchdown in order to be fantasy relevant. I would go for a high upside wide receiver. All right, Donnie Schmidt. What can I expect from Wan'Dale Robinson now that Kadarius Toney, which we haven't discussed yet, is in Kansas City?
I think you could have expected a lot from Wan'Dale Robinson, even without the Toney trade. It just didn't seem like they liked this guy, and maybe he was faking an injury. We don't know. It seems strange that all of a sudden he doesn't have an issue. But I am a big fan of Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he can be the number one in that offense. He's a smaller guy. But, man, he's a playmaker, dude. I love what this guy can do. I've been trying to grab him in dynasty leagues, and people aren't willing to offer him up. So,
yeah, I like Wan'Dale. He scored 2 weeks ago his first NFL touchdown, and he only got, I think it was 3 catches on 4 targets. But, man, did he look good on those plays. I agree. I think his value is the same. Long-term dynasty, maybe it's even better without Toney there, but Toney hasn't been playing. Whether it's playbook issues or injuries, he hasn't been in the lineup anyway. But I really like this. I mean, he is the most talented, by far, wide receiver, pass catcher on this Giants team, especially in dynasty format. But even from redraft, I think you could see him get used even more, because this is also showing from a commitment standpoint that the Giants are telling Wan'Dale, hey, we believe in you. This other guy who was a first-round draft pick before you, he's gone. He's in Kansas City. Real quick, what do you think of the trade from the Chiefs side? Because I love
opinions. It from the Chiefs side. I mean, this is we know Toney is talented. I mean, that's it. He's talented.
But why do we know Toney's talented? From a single game. He has had one game. Now, granted, that game was amazing at 188 yards receiving. But that's all. The guy has not been on the field from injury. He has not been on the field because he has now butted heads with 2 different coaching regimes, so much so that even though he was a first-round pick just 2 seasons ago, the Giants are like, we'll take a 3rd and a 6th for you. Get out of town. That worries me. Yeah.
Well, remember, this is a guy, and I'm sorry to bring this name up, but apparently Urban Meyer was looking to take him instead of Travis Etienne. So, but we know it's from one game, but we've seen what he did in college. We've seen, you can he passes the eyeball test. We'll say that. And when you have a guy that looks the part like he does, and you put him in the Kansas City offense with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, he'll probably stay happy there. And if he gets the ball in his hands, watch out in that offense.
By the way, and I'll say this because I know you are not a CEH fan. These were all the things people said about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Oh, he's such a good runner. He's going to go into that Andy Reid offense and he's RB1 in fantasy. Yeah. Plug it in, go ahead and give him the title. We haven't seen that. It could be the same.
He doesn't have, I don't think he has a fraction of the talent Kadarius Toney has. I'll say that.
Yeah,
he's got good hands.
Will say, I agree. Yeah. The talent is undeniable. I'm concerned about him staying healthy and a lot of red flags with the coaching staff. That's my thing. Tyreek Hill had red flags, but they were off-season red flags. We haven't heard a lot until he got, was discontented in Kansas City and got traded out. But even that was just more like he just wanted something different. He wanted to get paid. But we've now seen already 2 different coaching staffs have problem with Kadarius Toney. That being said, whatever, it's a 3rd and a 6th. The Chiefs are stocked with talent. That 3rd-round pick probably isn't going to amount to anything anyway. Might as well take a flyer on a guy like Toney.
One more point about CEH. This was a guy that we all had question marks when we said, the situation is going to make him. We never really said this is a great guy like with Jonathan Taylor. Oh, you put this talent into this offense behind that offensive line, he's going to go off. We said, this is a guy who can catch passes. Andy Reid brought up the name Brian. What's his name? Brian Westbrook. So then he's not Brian Westbrook. He's not even close to Brian Westbrook. But that's what intrigued us all in terms of fantasy. So all right, I'll leave that there.
And Kareem Hunt, just how well that running back fit into the Chiefs' offense when he was a rookie. All right, let's go on to Krause, who says, play Gus Edwards or Rashad Bateman tonight, or both. Now, we've already talked a lot about Gus Edwards, so give me your thoughts on Bateman.
Bateman, I have Bateman in a few leagues, and I'm shying away. If there's a coin flip guy that I'm looking at with Bateman there, I'm going with that guy. I'm trying to put some context behind that. I can't remember guys that I specifically am starting over him, but I have to see it. I have to see him stay on the field. I don't know what his issue has been, but again, if we had a little more context here, it'd be easier to answer whether or not you should start Rashad Bateman tonight. But if there's a guy that's right there, I'm probably leaning that other guy, depending on Paris Campbell. I think I'm starting Paris Campbell over him, even though,
Krause, feel free to give us a little more context on who you would be starting Bateman over. Play Gus Edwards. Unless you have really good running backs, you probably want to play him. I said I think the Ravens want to run the ball, and the Bucs have been susceptible to the run lately. I think this really sets up well on the other side of it because it sets up so well on the run. I don't know if Bateman value is as good. The Bucs have actually still been pretty good against the pass. Let us know who else you have, and we'll give you some more context. We still have a bunch of questions, and we have 8 minutes left, so I want to try to get to as many of these as we can. George Cook, do I start A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, and Mike Evans, or bench Mike Evans for Dameon Pierce? I have a feeling we're going to align on this, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're both starting Dameon Pierce over Mike Evans.
Completely agree there. We've already given the reasons. Don't have to dive into that. Don't overthink it, George. Put Pierce in your lineup. Tone says, start Gus tonight or flex Kirk or Judy, Christian Kirk or Jerry Judy.
I'm not starting Jerry Judy. Kirk is tempting. But everything you said about Gus Edwards tonight in this matchup has me very intrigued by Gus Edwards and his potential to maybe score a couple of touchdowns. So I'd probably go Gus Edwards.
Yeah, Kirk is interesting. As good as we said that the Broncos' pass defense is, it is Patrick Surtain doesn't really cover anybody in the slot. He's an outside corner through and through. I think he has one coverage in the slot all season long. But that being said, I think the Jaguars need to stick to the ground, which means there should be less volume there. And I really like this matchup for Gus. I was just pleasantly surprised. I'm starting him in one of my dynasty leagues. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. A lot of points on the bench last week for me. So I would go with Gus here. Takado, Luna. We already discussed this, but we already discussed the Jets. With Breece Hall out, should I kiss the Jets season away? LMAO? 3 question marks.
He has to put the LMAO in there. Like, what are you doing to me, man?
He loves your misery right now. 5-2 Jets. He can't let you enjoy it. He's got to take you down a peg.
Don't kiss the Jets season away just yet.
Yeah, all I'll say is I love the move for James Robinson. Good on Joe Douglas, but wow. And so quick. That's decisiveness. Let's not kiss the Jets goodbye just yet. I agree. Red Fire War from earlier. Dante Foreman or Gus Edwards?
Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I'm going with Gus there. Panthers are playing the Falcons. I could see Foreman producing, but Gus has a longer history. We just haven't seen enough of Foreman. I'm going to agree with you there. Brandon Nicastro, Bateman or Henderson? Darrell Henderson at flex, half PPR.
Oh, that Rams running game has been ugly. I would probably go Rashad Bateman here.
I think I'm going to lean Henderson just because of all the reasons I said. I think the Ravens stick to the run tonight. Yeah. Bateman is not a heavy volume receiver. Mark Andrews is the heavy volume pass catcher in that Ravens offense. And Darrell Henderson, yes, the Rams offense has been bad in the run, but there's no Cam Akers. So there's just by default more volume for Henderson. So that reason alone, and Henderson did score a touchdown, 2 weeks ago prior to the bye.
Still on the IR too, right? So they don't really.
Correct. I think they've designated him back, but he's not going to be playing yet. They brought back Malcolm Brown is the one that's splitting carries. So this is the Henderson show. So for that reason, I'm leaning Henderson.
All right, I'll go with Brian on that. I'll change my answer.
Tommy Ford, I just want to put your question in there. We just answered that exact question for Red Fire War, so we're both in agreement to go with Gus Edwards, but I at least wanted to acknowledge your question. Hayden Bohag, Debo Ramondre, I don't know what ROS.
I don't know what ROS is either.
Anybody know what ROS is? You're trying to return on sender?
I don't know. If it's between Debo and Ramondre, I'm going to go Ramondre.
Rest or sit?
ROS? He's a much better pass catcher than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I mean, Debo's also missed already. He hasn't practiced yet this week. There's questions about now. Debo kills the Rams. Like every time he plays, he scores against the Rams. But the fact that he's injured, I think CMC has a big week. I think he takes in, Ramondre Stevenson. Even with Damian Harris back last week, this was Stevenson's backfield against Chicago, and I think that continues this week. Brandon DeCastro, trade Eckler for Jacobs and Stevenson last week. Oh, traded. So this already happened.
Rest of season.
Rest of season. Oh, okay. ROS. Thank you. Now we know. Appreciate that. All right. What was the question? All right. Brandon says traded. So this is something that already happened. Traded Austin Eckler and for Josh Jacobs and Ramondre Stevenson last week. Still don't know how I feel about it. Worked last week. Do you think it was a good move?
Jacobs has been running hot, man. And if you needed help at running back, Ramondre Stevenson is a nice piece to have. I think it's an okay move. I think it's a good move because of the way Jacobs has been going. I do like Eckler's PPR upside, but like I said, Ramondre does have some nice PPR upside. They don't use him really much that way, but he can catch the ball. So I'm okay with this move.
Yeah, I mean, here's how I look at it. Eckler is RB1 in fantasy right now for running backs. He'll probably finish RB1 even in a given week. Let's say he gets 30 points. You're going to get more than 30 points most weeks from Jacobs and Stevenson combined. You're getting two starters, two very solid, and Jacobs isn't just a solid starter. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL right now. Fantastic. 3 touchdowns. He has unlocked, or Josh McDaniels has unlocked him. He's working so well. He is the heart of this Raiders defense. Offense? Who would have seen that coming? So yes, I absolutely love it. Doesn't matter how good Eckler's been. Your team overall is better having Jacobs and Stevenson in your lineup. JDragon91 says, last question for tonight. I promise, LOL. I'll let others catch up. What team do you believe has the best chance to snap the Eagles' winning streak? You have your computer up, so why don't you pull up the Eagles' schedule for the rest of the season?
The New York Giants, I'm going to say.
Okay. So you just stick to the NFC. So I want to look. Maybe they don't play the Giants for a few weeks. Let's take a look at the Eagles' schedule and try. They play the Steelers this week. Don't think that's going to be snapping it. Let's try to pick which game.
Yeah, we've got Texans, Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, Giants.
I can see Titans as well. But man, that is a nice schedule for Philly. Well, so let's go ahead and give the Eagles the first seed in the NFC, just because they're very, very good, and the way that schedule lets up. So just for fun, I'll say Titans. Rich will say Giants. Check back with us in a few weeks to see which one of us is right. Watch, they'll lose to the Steelers this week, and then neither of us is right.
Want to go rapid fire or last?
Let's go rapid fire. We got a minute and a half. Gavin Noonan, who should I look to trade? My team is bloated at flex. I like that as a description. I have Gus, Sanders, Foreman, Lockett, Ayuk, and Bateman. Which of those would you look to get rid of?
I would look to get rid of Ayuk.
Yes, 100% agree. We've already mentioned Lockett is the one I would hold on to absolutely amongst that group as well. Trade Ayuk while there's still some value to him. Seth Moore, keep Singletary or James Conner for rest of season.
James Conner, I do think James Cook is going to be a thing soon enough. He's explosive, man, and Singletary hasn't done what he should be doing with the ball in this offense. His numbers should be much higher, man.
James Conner's not even playing. I'm on the opposite side of this. Singletary's not great, but Connor's so injured, and Eno looked really good in replacing him. So I think there'll be more of a timeshare with Eno. Singletary, at least for now. I think James Cook is great in Dynasty, but I would keep Singletary there. We got 2 more questions. Micah Traw, pick 2 running backs and a flex in full PPR. James Robinson, Gus Edwards, Darrell Henderson, Chuba Hubbard, and Thielen. 2 running backs and a flex out of that.
Edwards, Henderson, and Thielen.
I would go Edwards, James Robinson, because I'm curious. Once again, I want to cheer for him, and Thielen. And then finally, Lamar or Tua from Angel Serrano.
Lamar. Come on.
I'm going to say Tua because I'm a Dolphins fan. Just let's see. Lamar, they've been running the ball. He hasn't thrown the ball as much. Let's go Tua. Let's have some fun, especially this week because they're playing Anthony's Lions. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what this offense can do against the Lions. All right, it is 8:06 Eastern, 5:06 Pacific, which means we got about 10 minutes left for the game. Guys, this has been always fun. Once again, you have asked us questions to keep us through. I see a whole bunch of stuff in the chat. I'm relying on Anthony, so once again, remember, find Anthony Wehner, Wehner, on social media and call him out if your question did not get asked.
But guys, get in. I get on here 15 minutes early on TikTok every week about 6:45 p.m. And I tell you from there, get in early. If you get your questions in early, we will get to them early.
Use the J Dragon 91 technique.
Yes,
that guy's he's in here at least 5 minutes early. And he just rapid fire put those questions out there. Jade, we'd love to see you on there. Rich, any last words before we go on and watch some Bucks versus Ravens on Thursday Night Football?
No, I'm taking
we're supposed to predict. We didn't even do a preview. All right, quickly. Bucks now favored by 2 at home. Tom Brady, it's the first time the Bucks will have lost 3 in a row, I think, since in like 7 years. Who's your pick for tonight?
I'm taking the Ravens.
I'm also taking the Ravens.
I have to see the Bucks.
I picked the Ravens to cover when they were favored by 1.5 points. I'm off this Bucks offense until further notice. I'm off this Bucks team until further notice. All right, guys, we will wrap it up there. Thank you so much for all of your questions. If you're an audio-only listener and you want to be a part of this, at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, every Thursday, Pro Football Demon and I will do these live viewer questions. They can be fantasy questions, NFL questions, whatever. As long as Anthony is on his game and getting the questions, we will do our best to answer them. Thanks again for listening and watching. Enjoy the game tonight, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with the Game Picks episode. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you tomorrow. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.